Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are live. THR Season 4 is here. I'm your host, of course, Simon Mwangi. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Jugush is running late, as always. Mnajua yeye kazi yake tu ni kuchelewa. But notwithstanding, today we have a guest. You have a very hot topic you're going to discuss today. And we are going to learn a lot from today's topic. We're going to discuss about sports club, that is hockey clubs in this case. And we're going to discuss about CHS. And with me, I have a sports lawyer. I don't want to mention her name. I want her to introduce herself. Karibu sana.
Asante. My name is Brenda Ongalo. I'm a sports lawyer, and I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to the show, of course.
Yeah. Let's start by talking a bit about yourself and the work you do. Who is a sports lawyer? Because most of us, we know lawyers are either dealing with wheezy, corruption.
Luckily,
who is a sports lawyer?
I don't know if this definition makes sense because who is a sports lawyer? Sports lawyer is a lawyer who specializes in sports and entertainment matters. So for me, I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, but my interest in sports, specifically football, because this started as being a football fan, and just the interest in football led me to want to now indulge myself in, because I saw, yes, you're a lawyer, but there is a legal aspect to everything. Ukitaka kwenda kununua unga ya ugali out there, you'll find that there's a legal tender. You're exchanging money. It's a contract of sorts. So there's law everywhere. So when I realized that, you see, these sports that we support, there's always a legal aspect to everything, because these sports do not operate in a vacuum. There are sports there are laws that govern them. There are contracts that are formed at each and particular points. So I decided that why not? Because in as much as in Kenya, we haven't seen much of specialization. You'd find lawyers doing almost everything. You want to be, not to leave anything to chance. You wouldn't want to say that you're only sports on its own, because yes, I also do other things, but my major area of interest is in these sports.
Awesome. Jugush, are you there? Are you hearing us? But you're still facing issues. So always remember that you can post your questions, comments, or queries in the comment section below, and we are going to read them, highlight them, as well as try as much as possible to answer your questions. Now, Brenda, let's start by mentioning this, the Sports Act. We've heard about it, but most of us, I can say, the hockey fraternity motto, most of us don't actually know what the Sports Act is. Please let us know, what is the Sports Act?
And now the Sports Act is an act of parliament that it was a law that was passed by parliament in January 2013, and it came into force because when a law is passed, sometimes it does not come into force immediately. So when they passed it in January 2013, they put a commencement date of August 2013. So since 2013, August is when 1st of August 2013 is when the Sports Act commenced. That is when it started working. But it's now an act that was put in place to deal with all matters that do with sports. So be it football, be it volleyball, be it hockey, any sports, and all organizations and registrations are supposed to, like, now there's a law that governs it. You see the way you'd say that there's a VAT Act that deals with everything taxes, VAT and all. So this is specific. It's a sector specific law that was passed so that you can streamline the sports area. So part of the things that the Sports Act notably did was to set up the registration and regulation of sports, and also licensing of sports bodies and organizations. Because prior to that, you'd find that a sports body is registered under the Societies Act, which you'd find that most entities that are registered as societies are churches, children's homes, chamas, welfare groups. So this act sought to separate sports entities from all these other societies, these other organizations. So, and then it also set up, there's now a Sports Kenya that was set up under this, and it's supposed to run stadiums, maintain facilities, and there was also a sports fund that was established so that this sports organization can always be funded when there is need. And if, let's say, a sports organization or a club participates in something and wins, and as a national team, this was at times in a later issue, the lesser you have won something, so who holds this money? There's now as a national sports fund where this money can be deposited in.
Yeah, awesome. We usually hear Sports Act of Kenya of 2013, Sports Amendment, Sports Act Amendment of 2018, but we don't really understand. But what are some of these amendments that were made to the Sports Act?
Now, when the Sports Act came into force, as I've said, most organizations had not been registered. You'd find that a club in any sport, or even sports that do not require that, let's say that a one man, what do I call them? The sports that you must not be a team to
individual
play.
sports.
Now you have. So you'd find that most of it now, when it came into force, you have to register yourself as a sports person, as a sports club, as a sports organization to gain that recognition. And part of that was also to ensure that there is compliance with the laws that are required, because it would be so hard for the government, let's say, comes in to regulate a hockey club, or asks a hockey club, let's say, to account for the monies that maybe they would be given, or the monies that their uh, members would contribute to, the monies that they would get in form of funding, be it sponsorship or anything, because the essence of it all is to have integrity in this sector. The essence of it is to have financial issues made straight, leadership issues, so that you do not have crooks leading such organizations, so that you can even question them. It has come to put in place that structure which was missing in the first place, so that but that is the main thing that came in now that you're required, because apart from just setting up the act itself or the registry and everything, you'd find that before a club is registered, they have to comply with some things. You have to have a constitution. There are instances where you'd find people operating as a sports club, but they do not have a constitution. They do not have officials that are recognized. They'll just mention huyu anakuanga chair wetu, but how are they appointed?
Kumbe Jukush uko hapo. Kumbe uko hapo. Karibu sana Jukush. How are you, my good friend?
I'm fine. It's good to have Brenda on board. Thank you so much, Brenda. I think today we demystify this charm of Saimo and what
he's been running a club like a kiosk.
Huh? That is true. Today we want to demystify that. Just to take you back, sorry to interject there, but in terms of accountability, because this is one thing I've had you emphasize on, in terms of what is, and probably you will go back a bit in terms of registration, what is required to register, as a club, so that we can go back and talk about the accountability bit.
Before we talk about what is required, if you look at the opening bit of the Sports Act itself, like, it even gives you the purposes for which this act has been passed, so that it's an act of parliament that has been put for development, like to help develop sports, to encourage and promote drug-free sports and recreation, and to provide establishment of sports institutions, facilities, administration and management of sports in the country, and any other related connected purposes. So you find that basically it's to make sure that there's sanity in this sector, because you cannot say that prior to the Sports Act there were no sports. They were there, but how are they operating? That is the question. So when the Sports Act came in place, it provided that sports entities that were in existence before that were given 1 year, that is from 1st August 2013, to comply with the requirements, that is register afresh so that you're recognized. And when you're supposed to register afresh, you have to bring in you have to bring in you have to show that you held elections, and you do not have a bloated officials list, because you'd find that the Sports Act requires a chairperson or the president when you're registering a sports organization. One thing that I did not mention, we're not it did not even the Sports Act itself did not just come into place to regulate clubs themselves. There's also the issue of sports organizations, because we see for football they have the Football Kenya Federation that is also must also be registered under the Sports Act to be recognized. You have the Hockey
Kenya Hockey,
Federation,
yeah.
the Kenya Hockey Union. It's an organization which also ought to have been registered. I don't know the status of the registration. You guys tell me if your union is compliant. Supposed to have been registered.
Hapo tuta-discuss in part 2, but anyway, let's move on. Let's move on quickly to club structures and club registration requirements. As you said, for the purposes of discussion, we are going to name this hockey club Simon Hockey Club, or Simon HC. So Simon has a hockey club that has been in existence since, let's say, in the 90s. What are the requirements? And I'm going to pull in a graphic here that actually shows the requirements, and then now you can walk us through. So some of the requirements are as follows. So the sports club registration requirements are as follows, based on the Sports Act. So a certified copy of the constitution of the organization, a short, medium, long-term strategic plan, an updated register of all affiliates, officials, and athletes, a copy of logos and emblems. Of course, Simon HC has a logo courtesy of Njugush. Njugush anakufanyia marketing. A copy of logos and emblems, certified copies of VAT, PIN, NSSF, and NHIF. I think you'll explain further on this. And then you have certified copies in respect to the chairman, president, secretary, treasurer, certified copy of good conduct, clearance certificate from KRA, Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission. Let me get this out of the way so that you can see everything. And then we have a passport size photograph of the president, the secretary treasurer, audited accounts. Hapo sasa ndio kizungumkuti Njugushi nakuja. Prescribed fees and a copy of certificate of registration. So anyway, let's go through these requirements. As you talk, I'll try to pull them side by side so that you can explain. Yeah, please proceed. Yeah.
And now, when you're told that for you to be registered, you need to have a certified copy of your constitution. Of course, as a club, you cannot just say I'm setting up a club without rules, you have to have a constitution, which is basically a set of rules that will govern your club, will govern the club's operations, will tell us who this club is, who constitutes the membership, who constitutes the leadership. Then there's the aspect of what qualifications must the leadership or must the member have to be considered as leaders of the club. So you get a lawyer or you draft your rules because you have formed this club, you know what the club is about, define it. That is the very first part of having your constitution. Any good law, any good constitution starts with a definitive clause which defines this is Njuguna Club, Hockey Club, it deals with the hockey, and you also have to mention all the you kind of show that you have complied with the laws of hockey, so that if as a hockey club you're supposed to be affiliated to, let's say, a national organization, then you also have to prove, like, you have to mention your allegiance to that union that you are subscribing to, and if there's any other international body that you are supposed to comply with, be recognized, then you also have to mention it there that this is Njuguna Hockey Club, and we are affiliated to Kenya Hockey Union, and the international ISO. You have an African body and an international.
Yes.
So let me ask in this case, Brenda. So
Yes.
in hockey, it's a bit different, and just relating it to the Kenya Hockey Union constitution, which I believe is in line with the with the Sports Act. We have the national, we have the clubs, and then in between it we have the county
The other
association.
associations. Yes.
Yeah, so that means first of all they have to be affiliated to the county association.
Yes, because for you to form a club, you must belong to a county. So you cannot just say that Mimi, I'm forming my club in Nyandarua, and I do not want to be a member of the county. I want to associate myself with a different county, or I just want to move from this club to the national level. So there are the small units that you have to belong to as you climb. So you have to have this constitution, and for it to be certified, go to a lawyer, go to a magistrate, let them put the stamp that is this true copy of the original of what you have, so that you do not have a case where an official presents his own constitution, like an amended, or sends it somewhere for registration. Now I'm back in, yet what you told him to go and register is not the same. So you have to certify that is the true copy of what you have presented. That is the certification bit. Yes.
Okay. And as we are looking at these requirements on screen, and you've mentioned about the constitution, you've mentioned about earlier you mentioned about the structures of the people, that is the president, the secretary, the treasurer. What is the importance of having such a structure based on the Sports Act?
Just for organization purposes, number one, because if there is an issue at the club level, having these structures, having the people that are in charge, and having the club registered will ensure that you see, in a case where, let's say, a club totally depends on an individual, then you find yourself in problems. Or let us not even look on the problem part. Even a good thing happens, and it's not, your club is not registered. Who do you? Let's say the club plays, the club wins some substantial amount of money, or the club is supposed to travel. Or there's just responsibility. The club intends to, let's say, acquire property. Once it's a registered body, there's always the option of you can, it's important so that you separate the club itself from the individuals that are running it. Because if you're acting as Juguna to your club, you're the chairperson of this club, or you're the chairperson of this union that you have registered, you are operating in the capacity of the office. So it is not you as Juguna. So we can always separate the entity in Juguna versus the entity of the chairman of that particular office, the occupant of that office, so that the office always has life. At no point utasema that there's a vacancy. So if there's a vacancy, the constitution stipulates how you can fill in that vacancy. The members come in, the members decide to vote, or if it's an appointed position, you can always appoint someone to take care of that office. So that at no point you'd say that kuna vacuum, or the club cannot operate because a particular individual is not there. It only helps to give the club a life of its own. So you can buy property in the name of the organization, in the name of the club. So if you buy property as Kenya Hockey Union or a particular hockey club, then it is sufficient. You can borrow, you can get monies, you can borrow loans, you can repay them, you can be sued in the name of the club, so that makosa yako as an individual is not tied on the club. And if there's a makosa that has been done by the club, you're not being hunted down as an individual. Unless now they circumvent and find that you are culpable as an individual, then yeah.
Before I bring in Jugush to give us a detailed view, or not, don't give us too much detail, Jugush, about the county elections as we move on to the county elections. What are some of these benefits? Of course, you've mentioned some of them is picking the loans. You can get the loan as a sports organization. Do registered clubs have a stake in the sports fund? Because we have a sports fund, an actual
Yes.
brand called sports fund. So, for example, if Njuguna's hockey club is going to represent the country in to represent the national body in a club competition, let's say in football, they usually go for the CAF Champions League.
Yes.
So in hockey, we have an equivalent for club championship. So as a registered club, can I approach sports fund for funding?
Yes, you can, because what the sports club or what the Sports Act provides for, when it was established and when they set out the national sport, they established the National Sports Fund, that is Section 12 of the Sports Act. It is for financial support of sports persons and organizations. So, number one, for you to be eligible to these funds, you have to be registered, of course, under the Sports Act. So the registrar has to know that this is an actual body that exists and is registered with us and they are licensed, because you also have to have it in mind that it's not just enough to be registered. There are things that you have to comply with. Uh, let's say if you need to take out licenses from the International Hockey Federation, if you have to renew your licenses, you have to be compliant with all the requirements. Then you can now approach the National Sports Fund and tell them, okay, we have qualified for this. The club is supposed to participate in 1, 2, 3, and at this point, we'd want you to fund us, to finance us. That is what ideally should be happening. Of course, the Kenyan case is special because sometimes they will tell you they don't even have that money. We have seen corporations, or we've seen various sports organizations having to look for funding elsewhere because the government would not support them. But in an ideal situation, having in place such a law and having in place a law that has established a sports fund, then it should be of benefit to individuals, that is sports persons, and organizations that are registered under it. So yeah, you're supposed to approach those bodies.
Okay, so there is this statement here, or this requirement here of certified copies of VAT, PIN, NSSF, and NHIF. Are these copies for the individuals, or are these certified copies of both the individual and the organization?
Both, because the moment they mention that you need to have certified copies of VAT and PIN and NSSF, VAT ideally would apply to the organization itself, because there's the assumption that you do pay. You have people that you pay, you have monies that you do receive that are subject to being taxed. Then you also have to be compliant. If you are a sports body and you do have players in your organization, of course, they are part of your employees and you pay them. You're supposed to be compliant with NSSF. You're supposed to be compliant with NHIF. So you have to prove basically that you are compliant with the laws of the land. We have this saying in equity that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. So you have to prove that your hands are also clean. You are complying on your part before you can approach the government, or you can approach the registrar to register your club. You have to show that you are compliant with all the requirements that they do have. So if you are supposed to have a tax compliance, you need to prove to these people that, yeah, I've actually taken out a PIN. Which shows that once I register this outfit, I'm able to comply with the tax requirements.
Yeah, interesting. So guys, continue bringing in your comments. If I read one of the few comments here, Duncan Murunga is asking a couple of questions. Number one, the value proposition of the Sports Act to hockey as a sports in Kenya. And number two, the registration process and the digitization of it. Where are the documents? And number three, the issue of compliance and accountability. I think we've just mentioned that in the sport. And number four, the value of compliance and cooperation in sponsorship. I think we've also mentioned that when we we spoke about the sports fund. In terms of digitization, is there a place where people can go digitally to view which clubs are registered, how to register?
Now,
yeah.
At the moment, unfortunately, everything is still being done manually. So you have to go to the office of the sports registrar, like physically present your documents. They haven't really embraced the digital platform to use for such. Then there's the question that I saw, that the value of of complying with the Sports Act and corporate sponsorship. I think that was the question 4. So basically, the whole essence of being registered would maybe enhance your chances, because if I am coming in to finance your outfit, your club as a sponsor, let's say corporate sponsorship, you want to get a sponsor, and the first thing being a walk. Let us use a walk. If you're a walk sponsor, of course you'd want to check this club that I want to be associated with, this club that I want to sponsor. Are they registered? Number 1. So it's easy. You go to the sports registrar, find out the details. Are they presenting the correct information to me as a sponsor? So the same way, if I am interested in getting a sponsor somewhere, I'd go and check the details of the sponsor, because a sponsorship is a partnership essentially. So I'd want to see that these people that I want to do business with, are they registered? Like, is the company a legal outfit? Is there anything that they are doing that is contrary to our business? So if you have registered a hockey club and you want sponsorship from it, then a sponsor can easily go to the sports registrar, find all the details about this hockey club that they want to involve themselves with, find the people that you'd find that the leadership of this club is, this is the chairperson, is this who they presented to us? Because you may enter into an agreement or a sponsorship deal with someone who's not authorized to deal on behalf of the club. So it's just to make it easier for even due diligence on your part as a sponsor, and also due diligence on your part as a football outfit, or even as a fan, because I'd want to know a club yenye na support inalidiwa na kina nani, who is responsible should things go wrong, or if I want to help the club, who should I approach? Because you cannot talk to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if a club is a separate legal entity from the individual members, why would someone submit both individual and club VAT certificates? I think he's referring to KRA certificates, not, because I don't think an individual has a VAT certificate.
Yeah, you have to you'd have to provide, because you remember that the moment you are you do not only operate under that club's constitution, or you do not only operate under the Sports Act on its own. There's also the constitution of the country, which is supreme, and it covers everyone. So the aspect of the integrity of or the chapter on integrity comes into play, because I would require, you see, there was also the requirement of having these people submit certificates of good conduct. You cannot have a certificate of good conduct for an organization. So this will apply. It is me who's presenting my documents or presenting this organization for registration, and I am part of the leadership of this club. So I have to show that I'm also clean, like in the eyes of the government. So I comply, I pay my taxes as an individual, because there's no way I can give assurance that we will comply with VAT requirements if I do not even do it on an individual basis. So it's basically just to give the government that confidence that you're a good person, or you're, for integrity issues. I think that answers that.
Yeah. Let's move on quickly to county associations, so that now we can merge the two together. By definition of the Sports Act, what is a county association? In this case, we do call them county hockey associations. But as per the Sports Act, what is a county association, and what constitutes a county association?
Unfortunately or fortunately, the Sports Act does not define a county association, because they are formed under the major organization. So the Sports Act would recognize an organization that is registered for purposes of a particular sport, that is an organization. So it can be the Hockey Union, it can be Football Kenya Federation, it can be the body that regulates volleyball or any other sport. So it will recognize. Now, this stratification comes in specific now to the organization. So when the Kenya Hockey Union is registering itself under the Sports Act as a sports organization in charge of hockey in Kenya, they will now specify in their constitution that they do have associations in on the county level. Initially, before the counties, there was the provincial level, the district level, and then now the grassroots. So it is for them to define themselves how they want, because you see, the Sports Act is majorly concerned with the national outfits. So as an individual club, but the sports act will not come and look like, fine, there's the Kenya Hockey Union, then there's another association that is affiliated to the Kenya Hockey Union on its own. No, now that is for the Kenya Hockey Union to tell the sports registrar that under Kenya Hockey Union, it is stratified as the following, and they have complied with the requirements of the Kenya Hockey Union constitution. Because if you check the constitution of the Kenya Hockey Union, they define their own association, something that has not been done in the Sports Act. The association under the Kenya Hockey Union is any entity approved by the union to control the game of hockey in any geographical regions, comprising of clubs that are eligible for memberships. Like you see, they're defining their own, because you'd find that most of the time you'd find you have a sport, you have an organization, yes, but you're not available in every county, or you're just based in one particular place. So not all organization would have the structure of having national, county, district, whatever. So you end up finding that these have been left for the organizations to do themselves. So that if a county organization, let's say I'd want to have an organization to deal with hockey, but not at the national level, this is just in the Nairobi County, then what the Sports Act will require me to do before I am registered is to show that I have complied with the Kenya Hockey Union, because it's the umbrella body for hockey. Because the Sports Act is also so specific that they will not register two organizations seeking the same thing. So that a club, like the registrar, shall not register more than one national sports organization to run any one discipline. So you cannot at any point have two Kenya Hockey Unions, like one, even if the other one is going under a different name, just for the sake for the fact that it will create parallel running of, because it will bring confusion. I would say I am say Brenda Hockey Club here, but I do not subscribe to Kenya Hockey Union, which is what has been registered under the Sports Act. So the Sports Act will not allow me as Brenda to register another organization to be in charge of hockey for as long as Kenya Hockey Union is in existence. So for me to register my club as to participate in hockey, or for me to register a club under hockey, then I have to show them, number one, that I'm affiliated to Kenya Hockey Union, which is what they recognize as the national sports organization for hockey in Kenya.
Yeah, and of course there are some requirements for that, because you see they are more or less the same as the registration of a sports club, but with the exception of evidence of clubs and sub-county sports association affiliated to it. In this case, for hockey, it's clubs, because we don't have sub-county hockey associations.
Yes.
It's more or less, so you said number one, they have to comply with the KHU constitution, and then number two, they also have to follow these guidelines.
Yes, because you see the requirements are for registration, but so that the sports registrar is sure that they are not creating a rift, you'd say that you'd have to be specific on what you want to perform. You cannot claim that you want to register a county association and want to do national functions. That's why you have to have your constitution that, number one, recognizes the mandate of the Kenya Hockey Union. So you have to acknowledge that the national association for hockey is Kenya Hockey Union, then the county come in after it, but you are under it still.
Yeah. Well said. Now, we know that clubs constitute the county associations. Without the clubs per se, the county association cannot be registered. It can be existing, yes, probably under the KHU constitution, but for it to be registered officially under the Sports Act, under the Kenyan law, they have to have affiliate or members of the club. So do they have to come up with their own constitution as well as county associations? Do they have to come up with their own constitutions as well to stipulate and say, for you to be our member, or for you to be our affiliate member, these are the guidelines you need to follow? And if a club is going to register with the Sports Act, and of course we've seen that a sports club has to say they either belong to a county association or they belong to a national association. In the case of hockey, they have to belong to a county association. So are they also do county associations also propose, or as you say, certify clubs for registration by the Sports Act or the sports registrar?
That is not it. It is not their work to do to certify the club, because I'd want to believe for hockey, as you say, for a club to be recognized, to register, they have to belong to a county association. So if you have to belong to a county association, it already means that as a club, before you want to register this hockey club of yours, you have to show that you are a member. Like you have to have your own constitution also that guides you, and in your definitive part of that constitution will mention that so and so hockey club is a member of the following county association, which the county association now is under the Kenya Nation or the Kenya Hockey Union. So you see, there's that like flowing structure, so that you cannot just say, me, I'm registering a club and I do not want to be a member of a county association. If the sport requires that you have to be a member, you have to belong to a county association.
And in that view, Njugush is back so that we can talk about now the county elections leading up to the national elections. In that view, assuming you're the sports registrar and I come to you as a county association, of course, I've been proposed or ratified by KHU, and I come to you as a sports registrar and I don't have evidence of clubs in the county. Will that registration go through, or will it be rejected?
Sorry, please repeat your question.
Yeah, I'm asking, assuming I come to you as a sports registrar with the county registration documents, and of course KHU have supported this, but I don't have affiliate clubs. Will the registrar support or register the county association, or will they have to have members first so that they can get registration? Because I mean, it's part of the requirements.
When the requirements, what I'm not getting is, how would you not have affiliate clubs and you want to be registered under a sports registrar? You see, that's where the problem would be, because number one, the Kenya Hockey Union should not even, if you've not complied with the requirements of the Kenya Hockey Union, which is the body that is in charge, because if I'd use an example of football, if I'd have a football club that I want to register, and this football club does not subscribe to FKF or runs leagues that are parallel to what is required by FKF, then the registrar can deny. So, in essence, what I'm trying to say is, if you do not comply with the requirements of the Kenya Hockey Union Constitution, you cannot want to come and purport to register your association directly with the sports registrar without complying with all the requirements, because ultimately the registrar recognizes the Kenya Hockey Union as the umbrella body of like in matters hockey in Kenya. There cannot be two bodies. You cannot say that Mimi nita operate minus Kenya Hockey Union. So if you cannot comply with what Kenya Hockey Union requires you to have to be registered as a county association, then there's no way you'll be registered by the sports registrar. You have, because part of the due diligence that the sports registrar will do is, fine, you have come, you want me to register your club as your association, your county association, you want me to register it, but I can see that you also you need to, number one, in your constitution acknowledge that there's a Kenya Hockey Union which governs all hockey matters nationwide. So non-compliance with the Kenya Hockey Union constitution or requirements as set out in the Kenya Hockey Union constitution, then there's no way you can bypass that and come directly to the sports registrar.
Okay, awesome. Jugush, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Okay, now, Ulihepa, when I was asking a very, very interesting question, but now let's come to you so that you can educate us and Brenda and the entire hockey community and the public. We currently are having elections ongoing, the county elections as well as the national elections, but we are not going to go into the national elections today because of interest of time. I hope we'll have part 2 next Wednesday to discuss about the national elections. But let's talk about the club structures as well as the county structures and elections. And this is your part, Jugush. What happens when county elections are running?
First of all, I think it's good to mention, and this we are going to relate with, it's part of what we're going to discuss next week. And I know Brenda has alluded to some of this, especially the last bit whereby you're talking about, you registering your Simon, that Russian name of yours as a national entity. I remember a case in court. I can't remember which year it was, and that guy was denied that you cannot run a parallel organization in line with because there's an existing one that is going on, and so that case had to be thrown off. Nonetheless, and then also to make it worse, the guy had not even he had no affiliation to any, no club was affiliated to it, or no county association was affiliated to it. So it's I think these are some of the benefits that the Sports Act is bringing into place, just to create order into things. Now, one of the things that is happening here is there are different clubs have different clubs have their own constitutions. Different county associations have their different constitutions. And just to mention the ones that are affiliated to the Kenya Hockey Union, and this I got it from the Secretary General today. I was just going through this with him, and there are 6 that are affiliated. Nairobi is one of them. Mombasa Hockey Association, Mombasa County Hockey Association is another. Nakuru County Association is the third one. Then we have Kisumu County Association, and then we have Kiambu and Kakamega. And now what happens is, in the different counties, clubs have representatives who go and elect officials of the county associations. So there are clubs that are, for example, let's use Nairobi, because Nairobi is the one which has the different clubs get to send representatives to the county association elections, and then now they get to elect the officials who now represent them as county representatives now to the union. I don't know if I've made myself clear up to that point.
So to make it clear is we've already established that clubs constitute county associations, right?
Yeah.
So the electoral process for as I said, you're not going to mention the national body for now. Let's just focus on clubs and counties. So for counties to have elections, clubs propose, and I don't think you mentioned it, they propose 2 delegates because we are using the delegate system. And then part of those delegates, some of them vie, some of them vote. The ones that, okay, everyone votes. Both delegates of the club vote, but either one of them vies or does not vie. So, for example, if Simon and Juguna and Brenda, we are in the same club, Juguna, you can propose Brenda and I to go to the county elections as delegates, and let's say Brenda is vying for the chairperson or the president, the county president. So when we go there, what is the process? We've been, Jugush, you've nominated us from our club to go to the county. Then what next?
Just to get you clear, this is now for the county associations.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's because that I have nominated the two of you to go to the county. So if you're using a delegate system, then that means automatically that it is us as delegates who are going to vote, in the county. So you will find a scenario whereby, and this is likely to happen. You have the same. It's just they're electing themselves amongst themselves. Yeah.
Okay. Now, before I pull in Brenda to give us now the law side of it, the legal side of it. So, the question, I think I asked this on my own social media pages, and we asked this as a preamble or precursor to the show. But I know there are club members who are watching this podcast. But the question I'm going to ask you, and probably you can answer in the comment section, or you can have a discussion with the club members. Number one, does your club have a club constitution? Number two, what is your club's clause or policy about appointing or electing these delegates? And are you currently getting involved in your county elections? I think Jugush has some news on some of the counties that have the elections. But now bringing in Brenda. Now, for me to be a delegate or to vie for a county position, what are the requirements based on the law?
For you to be a delegate, basically what happens is number one, you cannot appoint yourself as a delegate. So that means that the club members have to be the people who appoint. Like the club has to have a clear procedure on the appointment of delegates. Because I'd want to believe when you're appointing a delegate, like a delegate to maybe go and vote in the national or in the county association elections, would be there to represent the interests of a particular group. That is, I cannot go as Brenda and go and represent my own interest, yet I am going there as a delegate of a particular club. So the importance of number one, even having that constitution at the club level, it is that it will give you direction on the appointment of delegates or election of delegates, so that there is a laid out procedure on who can be appointed or who can be elected as a delegate, and what is required of them once they are elected as a delegate. So, of course, there is the integrity bit of it, because if I do not have integrity and you elect me to be a delegate, I can go and change and rather vote against the wishes of what the club stands for, or vote for a candidate that the club does not feel would best represent their interest at that county level or even national level. So there have to be laid out procedures on how to choose to select these delegates. That's why the aspect of affiliation now comes in. If if you want to register a county association and you do not have clubs as your affiliate members, where are you getting people to vote for you, or where are you getting the powers to even run the association? Because you need people to run. to rule over. You need people to govern with this constitution that you are forming as a county association. Who will vote? Who will second you? Who will appoint you, and who will second you? With whom are you supposed to have AGMs or SGMs to select the delegates that are going to represent you?
Interesting question. Jugush, uko ama umefreeze? Oh, you are listening.
Not actually listening. As she was talking, I was going through the Nairobi County Hockey Associations, and what she's saying is basically true. It's a bit of a jargon. Probably we will we will ask. I will we'll be able to discuss this further next week. Just to make reference, because this is the only one we have. But it's more or less the same thing that she has talked about and alluded to. And so it is what it is, man.
Now, Njugush, let's now get into murky waters here and talk about this, because one of the reasons why we decided to have this discussion with you in our season 4 premiere is we've seen issues. Recently, there have been a lot of murmurs. There have been a lot of calls for changes. And when you engage a lot of people, they don't actually know where to start to cause the change. Today, we are discussing about counties. Next week, we'll discuss about the national body. But there cannot be, based on the KHU constitution, it is the counties that elect the national officials. Based on the constitution as well, the county constitution, it is the clubs that elect officials in the county associations. Most counties are asleep. And as you've heard Brenda say, clubs have a big say in who sits in the county as well as the national association. Jugush, if we look at this a broad spectrum, although we'll go into much detail next week, but if we look at the broad spectrum of counties and clubs, where is the rot? Because if counties are asleep, then what does that state about clubs? Where is the rot?
Why are you throwing me under the bus?
Are you a member of any association?
No, I am not. I am only affiliated with the Hockey Republic, nothing else. Anyway, I don't want to put it as a rot, but I want to say this. I think most of us want change, which is a very good thing.
Yeah, it is a good call. Yeah, it's a good call.
But the approach to it is where the problem lies. We don't know what we need to do. For example, elections are coming. Yeah.
And some are happening.
And some are. I'm talking about the general elections in August. Ours, I know.
So now we have to be specific. We have to say hockey elections and political elections.
And we also have the LSK elections. So when you talk of elections, LSK coming up next month.
I am not a lawyer, Brenda, so please, I cannot talk about LSK elections. But and many young people have not taken cards, to go and vote. It's the same thing with, with hockey. This is a sport that we all love. And I think, I don't know if you had discussed this, but 90% of the clubs are, self-sponsored clubs. Okay. So
yes,
we need to engage our clubs more, as people who want to be part of these elective posts. We need to engage our clubs more and more and more and more. It is good to have, to read the constitution of KHU, but how many of us have read the constitution of our clubs? Okay.
Do clubs even have a constitution? Let's be honest, because
that would be a good place to start it. Because you can read something that they may not have.
Simon, you belong to a club. Me, I retired. Which does your club have a constitution?
I haven't. Let me say I haven't asked for it. Let me just say I haven't asked for it, but I'll ask for it. Also, as you mentioned that, I had forgotten to ask this to. I had forgotten to ask Brenda this question. part of the clubs we have in Kenya are universities. For example, you have USIU, Strathmore, KU, JKUAT, MKU. Now, will they be registered under the Sports Act? Because I think a majority, a third of the clubs in the country are universities. So, do they have to be registered? Sorry?
For as long as you want to carry yourself out as a sports club, then you have to be registered. But now I think for hockey it's also a bit complicated, because I could see from the membership of the Kenya Hockey Union, I see there is a representation of the Kenya University Sports Association. They should be represented by one member. But as you say that they form a substantive number of the members, or rather the clubs, then I think there's need to maybe look at who brings in what to this hockey union. Like if a majority are the universities in terms of the clubs and the teams that are being brought, the teams that maybe represent the nation, then you're only giving them one slot in the membership of the Kenya Hockey Union, which I think now will relate to when it comes to the national elections, who is supposed to vote. The membership is supposed to vote. So are they going to be counted as a separate entity, or are they going to be counted as under the Kenya University, that umbrella of one member representing them?
Brenda, I think this war is just the county allocation funds, and I'm talking about the parliament things, because mimi mtu wa Mount Kenya labda nasema constituency yangu iko na 500,000 people na ya Simon iko na 150, so I should have more say.
And you want to give him constitution,
but the question is, Njugush.
Yes.
Yeah, the question is, Njugush. For example, if we look at Nairobi, Nairobi has USIU, Strathmore, University of Nairobi, as some of the universities, and KCA are some of the universities participating in the county elections. So, and we've stated that the delegates must have a constitution, probably in the constitution of the county. They have to be registered under the Sports Act, because we've seen under the Sports Act, for your club to be recognized and participate in county or national matters, the members and the clubs have to be recognized by the Sports Act. So we have the Kenya University Sports Association, we have the County Sports Association. So how do we handle this? Because these are some of the things that cause confusion and bring about a lot of issues.
And that's why I was saying what the Sports Act came to cure is such loopholes, because you find that now it is a problem if each of these university teams, the university clubs, register their clubs under the Sports Act. So the sports registrar recognizes them as a hockey club under the Kenya Hockey Union. And at the same time, they're supposed to be members of this association. So what happens to the voting rights? So to avoid this friction, the Sports Act would require that you, as Kenya Hockey Union, amend your constitution so that it's in line with the Sports Act. So that you do not you do away with these ambiguous provisions in your constitution, because you see now that is setting up the entire Kenya Hockey Union for chaos. Because I'd want to say that mimi kama KCA, I have to have two members who I nominate as delegates in the national election. But at the same time, I'd want a member to be nominated under now the Kenya University Association now. Now you see, it causes a lot of friction.
And even Simon, let's not forget that it is even been a war that, or rather not war, but kuna mvurutano, hii university iko hii county ni yangu.
Kind of kama KU, for example, KU.
Yes.
So, is KU in Nairobi or is KU in Kiambu?
Yes, that's the question. Yes,
who's asking.
Oh, it depends on who's asking.
To Kiambu? Yeah, because you'd see KU wanting to like belong to Kiambu when it suits them, and belonging to Nairobi when it suits their interests.
Yeah,
so you need to belong to one.
Yeah, I have a question coming in from in my DM, and it's asking, what about already registered private sports club such as Parkland Sports Club? It is a privately registered sports club under the Sports Act. What about, for example, Mombasa Sports Club? These are already registered sports club, but they have sports under them. So what happens to them?
No, you see, when you talk of Akina Parkland Sports Club, they're not specific to a particular sport. So I would not really want to associate them with the Sports Act, because I think for them, they are recreational facilities. They do have sports ground for different. You'd find them hosting basketball, you'd find them having hockey, you'd find them having football. I mean, they are not they're not under this. What the Sports Act covers are sports that, let's say, athletics, hockey, football, like the specific sports that you can pinpoint that have organizations, and they do have competitions, various competitions, like they would represent the country at a certain point. That is why the government is interested in them, because you cannot say that if you're a private entity and Parkland Sports Club want to go and have a team of its own to participate on its own, you find that watu ukienda huko nje, when hockey, I believe you guys are just from AFCON, or what do you call it? Like the AFCON equivalent
ACN,
of hockey.
you
You are representing Kenya as a country. So there's no point that you'd find a private entity going to represent the country on its own. The moment you involve the country, then you have to comply. So if Parkland Sports Club decide that today we have a hockey team on our own, or we have a football club on our own, the number one thing was to have the club registered under the Sports Act. And for them to be registered under the Sports Act, they have to comply with the various bodies that they have to be affiliated to, because I have to show that if I am a football club, I have to be affiliated to FKF. They have to know that I exist. And FIFA and CAF, for me to participate in all those competitions or tournaments, like they have to, if I have to participate in a tournament that is sanctioned by an international body, I'd want to believe that if you want to participate in a competition of the way you guys went to AFCON, or the continental, the regional competitions, then the rugby, the International Hockey Federation was aware that this competition is going on in Africa, and the African equivalent of it was also aware, and they know that this club is registered under this and it's recognized under Kenya, so they're representing Kenya. So you cannot go as a private entity na useme sasa mimi ni Parklands, I do not want to associate with Kenya.
Okay, Njugush, I'm scrolling through the constitution here, the Nairobi County Hockey Association constitution, because we have a copy. Thanks to Malal for that, and also thanks to the KHU SecGen, our good friend Wiki for the KHU constitution. Do you think that now there is need to actually change this document and I don't want to use that word, but let me use it with quotes, force clubs to comply with the Sports Act? We saw football and rugby go the same way, and we are seeing benefits. Should counties and the KHU constitution embed that in the document? And once you answer, we'll get now the response from the lawyer, because they might force, and probably it's illegal to force them.
I will take you back to the last interview we had with the Kenya Hockey Union, and even some months back, I think it was season 2 when we had Tom Alal and company for Nairobi Hockey Association. It is a catch-22, in the sense that here you are, because do I talk about this? No, I'm bound with so many things. I don't want I wouldn't want.
Be careful. Even if we have a lawyer, be careful. We don't want to end up in committee tukituma SMS za tuma pesa kwa hii number.
No. What I will say is this. It is, for me, I see it as a catch-22. And if you remember the interview we had with the president and the Secretary General, we came. They alluded to this, that they had to comply. The clubs had to be compliant to the Sports Act, so that they are able to be given a go ahead and even hold their own elections. Because I don't know what the timeline was, and Brenda can confirm this, but there was a period with which clubs and county associations and even national bodies were supposed to comply with the act, and I believe that time has passed. But again,
it was 1 year, just so that you're clear. It was 1 year from 1st August 2013. So most clubs are way out of time, like very late.
Yeah. So I don't know if they draw the line, if they'll have elections, and that brings in more issues. Then are they legally or illegally in office? But I know that's a discussion I don't want to prevent for next week. But anyway, let me.
Yeah, so let me bring in Brenda because Njugush Njugush is a very good politician. Umeona vile ame maneuver akajitoa
He
kwa hiyo
wants to be
swali.
politically correct.
Yes, politically correct. That's the term.
No.
Okay.
I was part of the last elections as a rapporteur. So there are things that bound me. I don't want to hire Brenda services because of something that I do. So let me keep quiet.
We are not asking you. We are not asking you to tell us what happened in the elections. All we are just asking is, we know that for us to get on the right track, and this is why we are having these discussions, for us to be on the right track, for us to effect these changes we want, for us to have this sport grow, for us to have this sport change, things have to be done in the right way. We have procedures, we have checks and balances. So that's why I'm asking. For now, we have clubs, and we've seen some club members say that KHU and counties are operating illegally. But if we look at it critically, it means all of us are operating illegally, because a lot of clubs are not registered. A lot of clubs officials are not recognized. So that's why I'm asking for us to be right, because KHU and county associations have to be set right by the Sports Act. Also, clubs need to be set right by the Sports Act. So that's the question. Should there be a rule or a law or a constitutional clause that says, if you want to be our affiliate member, if you want to participate, let's say, in the league, and we saw football and rugby go the same route, you have to have such things done. So that's the question. Let me bring in Brenda, because naona Njugushu umeandika notes, you'll react to that. But Brenda, should there be a clause to force clubs and counties, or let's say clubs, to actually be registered so that they can participate in county elections, national elections, and probably the league, so that everything is set right?
Yeah, my answer would be a very firm yes, because number one, it's not even for clubs to choose. The Sports Act itself is superior to this club's constitution. It's superior to the Kenya Hockey Union constitution. So if the Kenya Hockey Union constitution, if the Kenya Hockey Union is registered under the Sports Act, so the registrar knows there's a Kenya Hockey Union and it's registered, it has complied, then its members must be forced. They should not even be forced. It should just be a requirement that for us to recognize you, for you to participate in the league this coming season, then you ought to have complied with the requirement of the Sports Act. That is, have a constitution, have a that lays down who your leaders are. Have you had elections as per required, as prescribed by the Sports Act? Have you complied with what Kenya Hockey Union wants you to comply with before we can register you? So it is a requirement that is a must, because the Sports Act did not say that. It was not giving a suggestion when it came into force. No, the requirement for registration was, it is a must be registered for a club to be recognized. It will even, you see, if we are seeing elections coming in, of course elections do come with a lot of issues. You may have a dispute in your at the club level or the county association level. Then where do you take these disputes that you have as an election body? Because the Sports Act recognizes that these bodies that are registered to it, yes, you'd find that a body prescribes its own form of dispute resolution that may be subject you to arbitration. If it fails, you go to the Sports Dispute Tribunal. So for you to even have an audience with Sports Dispute Tribunal, the tribunal will first want to confirm that, okay, you are before us as so and so, as this club, and you have a dispute that you'd want us to help you solve. Are you registered? If you're not, we cannot recognize you as a sports body. You go find another court or go find another body to deal with the issues, because you cannot seek to enjoy the benefits of having your club registered, yet you do not want to register it. So the requirement was 1 year. Like, it was so specific. All clubs, all existing outfits must seek to comply with the Sports Act within 1 year of the commencement. That is 1st August 2013. So by 1st August 2014, all clubs, all sports clubs were supposed to have complied. So if you have not complied, you're now considered an illegal outfit. But I think these guys have also been lenient on cracking the whip, because they would automatically now kick off clubs and tell them, no, if it's Kenya Hockey Union and you want us to fund you, you're seeking the government to fund you, you're not eligible to the National Sports Fund if you're not registered, or if your members are not registered, because you cannot be aiding the non-compliance with the legal requirements of the Sports Act, yet you want to benefit from it. So it is a very strong yes. You must, if there's a way they can be forced, then let them be forced. But it's a legal requirement.
Yeah, Njugushu umesikia hii club yetu itabidi tumeregister, and as well as have a constitution. Njugushu, we did a small experiment with you, and I asked some guys to actually ask this around in their clubs, and I'm being honest here, and I know I'm going to get a lot of abuse for this, as always. Nimezoea kutukanwa, but anyway, let me say it. The problem you're having is that clubs, yes, it's good to have clubs, it's good to have a lot of outfits coming up wanting to play hockey, but they have to be legally registered, they have to be legally recognized. Njugushu did this with you, and we found out that not many clubs have a constitution. They don't have outlaid procedures on how to select delegates. In fact, I might add and say club members didn't even know the electoral process for the county and national associations yet. A lot of them are calling for change at the counties and the national body. So Njugush, who has the responsibility to share this information, or what do we need to do so that watu wakue woke, watu waomoke, so that we stop this rat we are going round the same mountain?
It is you as a player that I think needs to take that responsibility up. And I've used a very classic example of the national elections. It's that time you are saying that you leaders are bad and you want to change even your MCA, yet you don't have a voter's card to go and vote. So what business do you have saying that the things are bad there? You can talk all you can, but if you don't know what is happening, change has to begin, I think, in my opinion, in the clubs. And just like what Brenda has said, there are immense benefits if clubs are registered legally with the Sports Act, because it is. I think, in my opinion, because I was speaking to one of the county officials, and I think I was with you. on this when you were talking about, even county governments have allocate monies every financial year.
I think it was the episode we had with Peter Chetera.
Yes, that
from
one.
yeah.
Yes, and how many clubs are able to, access such funds? And here we get our answer today that, if you are compliant enough, then we will move from self-sponsored clubs, and at least have, proper funding in place, and this will grow our sport, because I think it is, we can blame ourselves where we are at, and I think we can improve the sport if we go back to where it's supposed to be, and that is at the club level. And I know this is one conversation that needs to happen. I don't know who
it is happening.
Yeah, no,
it is happening.
Yes, it is happening right now, and it's a very good thing. So let us get to know what the right buttons for us to press, and if we need to push ourselves. And I know this might in a way bite us at the beginning in terms of financially, because I know Brenda is not cheap when it comes to her signing those and approving. But and again, she's not that expensive, so it is one way of just let us do the right thing. Let us get the funding right, and let's get the process right. Let us understand what is happening and what needs to happen. So when you change things at the club levels, I am glad, an example of, Nairobi Hockey Association, which ratified their constitution, I think in November 2017, if I'm not wrong, according to what I've seen. So just let us lay over, make sure the county is benefiting, because I know one of the hurdles as a club you may not benefit is probably if the county association is not registered legally. So there lies in another hurdle. So how are we keeping, as clubs, county associations liable? Because we cannot be affiliated to you, yet you yourselves are not compliant with the sport. So it is again going back to clubs and clubs here. It is the stakeholders, whether the players, the fans, everyone. We hold the county associations liable. Let them be liable, and once we get the correct officials, or rather the leaders that we deserve at the county levels, then we are able to elect different we may be able to see the change that we want at the national level. Otherwise, this is all that.
Let's go to some
respond to a question before there was a question here that can a national body that is registered under the Sports Act be deregistered, and what would lead to such? So to respond to this, so yes, they can be deregistered. The same way you can be registered, you can be deregistered. And you see that the Sports Act, when it came into force, there's a section 52, which gives the registrar powers to deregister. And it will not just move and deregister, no. There have to be sufficient reasons to believe that a body that is registered, or even a club that is registered, is not compliant with what their constitution provides, or there has been misappropriation. So they will not just move and deregister, no. They have to get the complaints, then they have to satisfy themselves that actually this is what is happening. That is, the section 52 gives them powers to move, to ask for, to inspect. Let's say if it's a matter of corruption or financial misappropriation, they would ask for books of accounts to inspect. Although if it's any other matter, then they would definitely do the investigations to find out if the allegations that are being made are true. We saw that happening with FKF. So if somebody has sufficient reasons to believe that maybe Kenya Hockey Union is involving itself with other functions that are not prescribed in its constitution, or there have been monies that have been swindled, or just any other wrong that has been done, then they can always move. And for this, it gives the cabinet secretary at that point that is in charge of matters sports powers to ask for books to be inspected, and gives now the power to the sports registrar to deregister that particular body if they are found culpable for the same.
And let me ask. Sorry, Jukush, but just on that point, who is registering the complaint? Is it a member of the public? Is it a player affiliated to a club and a county? Is it a club submitting the who is submitting this complaint, or who once this complaint comes in, are there any requirements to look at the complaints and say this is legit or this is just hearsay?
You see, part of the reasons, part of the requirements of for you to register, if I want to make a complaint against a club, then I have to, number one, prove that I'm a member of a club. So the benefits of being a member of that club would entitle me to be given, let's say, quarterly financial reports, or annual financial reports. So if I see there's a discrepancy or they fail to do that which their constitution provides, I cannot just come out, Mimi Tony Brenda, I've never watched any hockey game, then I now want to get Kenya Hockey Union inspected. No. You see, now it what it does, it makes sure that there's order. Ile order tulikuwa tunasema mara ya kwanza, because if you are a club and you have to maintain, but as a club you also have to maintain a register of your members, because ukienda huko kwa uwanja, we've seen it happening with football, you find hooliganism incidents, and you want to charge the club because their members are misbehaving, and the club tells you, sijui huyo mtu. How will you prove that they're not members? So if you maintain a register of your members, be it at the county level, because you see people having branches. So I would say that Mimi, I'm supporting this particular team, but I'm registered and as a member of this team under this branch. So, if I do, it's so easy to come and pinpoint and say, so-and-so is a member. So this so-and-so, it's being a member does not only mean that it's on the negative, unafanya kitu mbaya during the game or something to be banned or anything, but it also gives you rights to attend these elections, to attend, to have a say in how the club is supposed to be run. And if you see that there's something that is not pleasing, or there's misappropriation of funds as a member, then you are entitled to lay that complaint. Or as a sports registrar or as a cabinet secretary, you have concrete reasons to believe that things are not running. For instance, if the league just comes to a halt, the hockey league comes to a halt, and there's no explanation, definitely this is a body that is registered, so it would attract interest. This is a body that sends teams to represent the country, so there's that national interest in what is happening to our sport. Why is this and this not happening in a particular way? So there's need. Now you find the cabinet secretary moving in to order for inspection to be done or seeking answers. We've seen leaders of these unions, leaders of these organizations being summoned even to parliament to explain what is happening. Because at that point, once you're registered under the Sports Act, it's no longer you're a small cocoon. No, it's now a matter of national interest. So just to maintain that order, you have to be a registered member also of that particular club if you want to make the complaint. Or alternatively, you pray you become the CS, then you must not be a member. So if tomorrow you are the CS, so lazima.
There's something Brenda has said. There's something Brenda has said that is very, very important. And I think, Simon, many people have thought that it is something that the union, and I'm not defending them in any way, but I'm just coming out clear. Remember the conversation we had with KHU, that if you have any issues, you cannot come to them directly because they don't know you. Yes, they know Simon is a player and plays in the league, but they don't know you. So you have to go back to your club, which has to write to the county association, and then the county association now is able to, ask for what you want, which is quite some work. Yeah.
Yeah. I have only 3 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes to wrap this up. We'll have more of this next week. I want to go to some of the comments, and thank you for everyone who's commenting. Yeah, I think Ituli mentioned, Ituli Kasema, there was a time in football where we had FKF and FKEL, and both bodies were running soccer. I think Brenda and Jugush, you've answered that by saying one had to be shown the door. Maximus is saying, Kipto Baringo, thank you very much for watching. Where the question here is, who manages county elections? Is this dependent on the county constitution? Brenda, is this dependent on the county's constitution, or does the Sports Act state who manages the election?
The moment you are forming a county association, the reason you also have to have your constitution is your constitution will state nani anawafanyia elections zenu. Are you going to get another body? Under what are you going to, like, what is considered a win? Like, is it a simple majority who are eligible to vote? Do you have a county association and say that every register tutatumia register ya IEBC kwa hii county, kila mtu atavote, and yet the elections are for hockey? So the purposes of having that constitution, a good constitution would provide for who are eligible to vote, who will run the body that will hold the elections, that will run the elections for the association, and if they are getting an independent body outside there, what are they going to consider before they pick a body to run the elections for definitely impartiality issues and all that?
Yeah.
So a good constitution would prescribe that.
Okay. Omoshwere, thanks very much. Omosh is a very good friend of mine. He's saying the executives of the federations are the ones that can help change the constitution. If they love the sport, all the stakeholders are not happy with it. But if they don't, then we shall forever be having this document. We may all not be happy, but this is a case of which rat shall bell the cat. Hiyo kizungu ni ngumu. Jatelo bwana, unafanya naibika online. But Jugush, let me just put that comment there, and then I'll Jugush ametoka. But we've said this. I respond as we wait for Jugush to come back. This document, this constitution of Kenya Hockey Union, the constitution of a county, the constitution of a club cannot exist without individuals. And yeah, so because people are the ones who write these documents, they are not written by robots, they are not written by animals, they are written by people. So the constitution exists because there are people. Now, based on the discussions you have at any of those levels, then you can come up with a document. What Omosh is saying is true. But the problem we are having with our sport, hockey, is that a lot of people are focusing at the top, but they are not focusing on the building blocks that are holding the top. Because without clubs, without counties, KHU will have no individuals. It will just be a body. Yeah, because at the end of the day, there have to be elections. There have to be people being nominated to get there. So for the constitution to be amended, there have to be people actually there to amend. So it depends on who, as a club, as a county association, you put forward to amend that document. So this is where the point comes in. So if your club is registered, does it have a constitution? What does the club constitution state? So if your club is operating as an ad hoc entity, then it will be difficult to call for a national or a county constitution to be changed, and yet your club does not follow any constitution. So Brenda, what's your advice on this? Because a lot of people are calling for counties and the national body to change their constitution, and yet they are members of clubs that are operating ad hoc, some sort of a guerrilla club.
The same thing that we said. Number number one, as a club, just make sure you are compliant. So if you comply to the Sports Act as a club itself, then at least it gives you more voice. It gives you more legitimate reasons to call for change. Because if I feel that the Kenya Hockey Union is doing something that is against the interest of growth of the sport, then it is a collective responsibility. So what am I doing as a club? I cannot fault the Kenya Hockey Union constitution or mode of election or mode of operation, yet at my club level nimeshindwa kuorganize yangu ndogo. So if this small outfit that I have has a proper constitution and I comply with it to the letter, then it gives me more voice to even go and it gives me more negotiating power. Because if you want to make a complaint against the Kenya Hockey Union, which you claim to be a member or an affiliated member to, that because I've seen there's affiliation fee which is not kidogo, that these unions as the associations are supposed to pay. So you need accountability for the same. So if I want to ask them how they are putting to use the affiliation fee that is being sent in and the yearly subscription that is paid, then the best way I can do that is ensure that number one, I'm also compliant. Then if they do not respond to me, I can now go and sue them to the Kenya to the Sports Dispute Tribunal. I'll have legitimate grounds, because I cannot go and ask that they're inspected or they're deregistered or they are forced to comply with certain things that are not complying with myself. You cannot ask for accountability where you're not accountable yourself. So all clubs, the best thing that they would do is have a constitution for themselves that represent their own interest, number one. Maintain a list of their registered members, which will give them a voice, Ukuju. Because if you start as a club, then you look at what your county association is doing, then the county association now represent your interests at that level to the national level. So it's all about compliance.
Yeah. To some of the comments, I saw one here, interesting one. Sorry guys, we've went for time, but it's important. Can one be an official in a county association without being a member of a team of that county? For example, my club is in Nairobi and I would wish to be elected in another county.
Now that I think boils down to the constitution of that county association, because you'd find that a county association would say that for you to be an official here, for you to be elected here, you have to be seconded by let's say a team within the county that you are a member of and such stuff. So if you're not affiliated, like, we cannot give a blanket response to that, because it's about what constitution or what rule that county, the specific county association, provides for who can be their officials. See that the descriptive section would give you who is eligible to be elected as chair, because the same way you cannot say that I want to be the president of Kenya yet I live in Tanzania, or I'm not a Kenyan citizen. So you see, what does the Kenyan constitution provide about who is eligible to be president? So it's all about that particular county association's constitution on who their members is, who can be their officials. If they leave it blank, if they leave it ambiguous, then I can go anywhere and say mi nataka kukuwa chairperson wa hii county association.
Yeah. Kuna mtu ameanza kuambiwa amalize show, dinner is ready. Amos is saying great to listen, and then he's asking kindly, how do our players earn, as wages or as allowances? What's the role of KHU in managing players' welfare? Hold that thought till next week. We are going to discuss about the national body, the constitution, the Sports Act at the national level. So we'll keep that in mind. And then Danko is saying we must be compliant and the following needs to be worked on. Number one, the KHU constitution must be amended. We'll have discussions about that next week. All clubs must be asked to comply before they take part in the sport. Yes, we've discussed that. And number 3, we must elect fresh, objective leaders in hockey. So Danko well said. And in number 3, Njugush, we need to start at the club level, right?
Yes.
And then Walucho Sitawa is saying, great conversation, very informative. And then Amos is saying, thanks for responding to my concern. I will be in next time. So Njugush, your comments on this, because we need to end and prepare for next week, where we'll be discussing about now county and national matters. Let me start with you, and then I'll go to Brenda.
I think for me, I'm really happy today that, the tone of conversations has changed, in the sense that Brenda has shed so much light on this issue that, I believe as stakeholders, and allow me to use that word, I know you and I were arguing about this, or rather engaging ourselves in this matter offline. But as stakeholders, we now know what needs to happen. And I like what Danko has said, that there are things that needs to be put in place. And yes, indeed, all these things he wants, I believe, are possible. But just like what Brenda has said, we must be, each and every one of us must be compliant to what is required of them. And so there may be things that look so far-fetched, but I think all of them are possible. So let's take these conversations to the club levels, let's take these conversations to the county association levels, and I know from there on we are going to really, really benefit. I know next week is going to be a good one, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Because I mean, all comments coming through are questions about the national body.
Yes.
And I'll say something about that. Yeah.
I know Brenda is going to demystify this for us, and just like what she's done for us today. Thank you so much, Brenda, for coming through, and we look forward. You should be one of our pundits here. We've been looking for a lady for a very long time.
Yeah.
I hope you stick to school.
Yeah, Brenda.
Okay. I'd want to just to wrap it up, and thank you for having me. I didn't think at any point I'd be discussing hockey. The nearest I've been to hockey was high school, the hockey stick, seeing people playing, and an interview I had with the coach for Strathmore, Meshach Senge. I think that was it wasn't even hockey in depth, but I'm glad we're doing this because there's a legal aspect to everything. So looking forward to the show next week, and I hope the stakeholders generally, yes, fans and members are stakeholders. So you're not wrong to call yourself a stakeholder. As long as you have the interest of the game at heart, you are a stakeholder. So it's for all of us to do what is required of us. So if you are a club, comply. If you are a county association, comply. At the national level, if you can have some influence, I mean, we even see the national elections attracting civic education. We could have just informative sessions, so just pass a word to a club, huko mashinani, let them know they are required to comply, because most of them are not compliant because they do not know. It's out of sheer ignorance that they do not know what is happening, or they do not know that is required of them. They do not know the power they hold against the national organizations. So let them have the word. Let everyone make sure that they pass the word that you're supposed to it's a requirement that you are registered to have a voice, so that everyone is at par.
Yeah, and in because now our club members, officials are well educated on this, how can they find you so that you help them with the registration process?
I think, I don't know how I will drop my number, or
it's fine. You can if you are comfortable, or if you have a business number, you can just say it right now, and we'll share it on our social media pages as well.
Yeah, the business number is 0714 340455. I think it's the same number that you guys have, or on my social media platforms. So on Facebook, just search Wakili wa Michezo on Facebook. Then on Instagram at Brenda Ongalo, on Twitter at Brenda Ongalo. I think those are sufficient. We can always engage because it's important that we are compliant to the laws that have been put in place to benefit us and to benefit our sports.
Yeah.
Na ni mambo ya hope, ni mambo ya sports.
Yes.
To make it clear.
Yes.
Now, my final thoughts on this, and I'll be straight, I'll shoot a straight arrow on this. Honestly, I'm concerned, Jugush and Brenda. I'm concerned because even you are seeing me looking at my WhatsApp and SMSs. One of our major problems as a hockey community is that we focus so much on KHU, and already it is so disappointing that even after these discussions, people are still looking at the problems at KHU. Yani, they've taken the whole discussion about counties and clubs and thrown it away on the bin, in the bin, sorry. Wamerusha, wamesema hiyo sio shida yetu, shida iko kwa national body. But you fail to understand that whatever we've discussed is the building block towards KHU. So yes, it's good. It's good you're looking forward to next week's show. It's good you're asking questions based on KHU, but you need to go back to your club. You have WhatsApp groups in your for your club. You have training tomorrow. Most clubs do train on Thursdays. Can we start asking those questions? Because Njugush, we all know clubs in Kenya, most hockey clubs in Kenya are based on founding members. The founding members are the club officials. Since mimi na Njugush ndio tulianzisha clubs, wewe ndio chairman, mimi ndio patron, tutafanya two elections hivi ya select captain and treasurer, and you find that the captain and the treasurer and the coach are the ones who are running the club. There is no clear structure. So if we can't sort out issues at our club, if our club is not registered, if your club does not even have a constitution, if your club does not even have a bank account, does not provide statement of accounts to its members, does not even have a policy to select delegates for the county associations, then why are you calling for change at the national body? Because even if you call change for the national body and decide to deregister it, then who is going to replace them? The same procedure has to follow. They have to be registered clubs, they have to be registered counties, and the national body has to say these are the registered clubs and the counties. Now we are the officials. So guys, all I'm asking and I'm pleading with you is, can we stop looking at KHU as the only problem and we start focusing on the whole issue at hand? Our clubs are not right. Our clubs are not run well. The counties associations are not run well. And then now we can now have a national discussion and say, yes, to sort clubs, to sort counties, can we now sort KHU? Because the truth of the matter is, hata ukisort KHU and there is a rot in the club, or the club is not run well and the county is not run well, the same issues will continue. Njugush, we say this and we said we won't mention it, but I'll mention it. Mimi naweza pelekwa kotini. There are counties that are running elections and the clubs don't even know.
That's true.
So why are you complaining about KHU and yet your county is running an election without your knowledge? Did they write to your club to tell you that they are running county elections? Does your club, or if your club members are vying for the county elections, have they notified you that they are running for county elections? How did they appoint themselves, or did you appoint them? So start asking those questions. And by the time you're coming in next week, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have now a discussion about KHU. So let's start having that discussion about clubs. Go back to your club, go back to your official, go back to your chairman or founding member and tell them we need to sort this out. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, have a good one. Cheers and bye-bye.